The elections to choose the next governor of Abia State in southeast Nigeria is one out of 28 other governorship elections that are scheduled for March the 11th of this year, of next year, 2023. At the moment, the incumbent Okezi Ikpeazu, who was elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, commands a mixed scorecard going by his reactions to his administration's policies and programs on the public domain. Have the people of Abia State been vindicated enough by what they have experienced over the past 8 years? And what sort of opportunity does next year's elections present to them? Well, now we are joined by a former official of the World Bank and a governorship aspirant on the aegis of the All Progressives Congress in Abia State, Dan Eke, for a chat on the 2023 general elections and his plans for the state. We'd like to say welcome and thank you for joining the program this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
So I know you've been on the program once before. We talked about your governorship aspirations. And we also know that you currently reside in the U.S. My question to you is, coming out with fresh eyes from outside of the country, what are the key issues that you will be tackling for Abia State? We all know that insecurity and job creation are two very important situations on the list, but I'll let you go ahead and speak.
Well, thank you so much. That question is really on point. I will preface it by saying that people will look at me and say, Daniel, you live in America for so long. I've lived in America for 40 years. But I've been coming to Nigeria 2-3 times a year. I've had businesses that employed hundreds of people in Abia. And I am well grounded in what is going on in Abia. And the rot and decadence, is just so much that if I'm allowed, if I become the governor, there are lots of things that I will do to help. I'll bring a fresh perspective to governance. I'll bring total selfless service delivery to Abians. And I will totally reclaim, restore, and modernize the Abia infrastructures. And in terms of insecurity, I will use technology and stakeholders, reach out to stakeholders in order to fight insecurity, because we cannot just fight insecurity by physical shooting guns. We have to employ technology that are available to us. And you can just take a look at what happened in New York yesterday. People were killed shot in the subway. And today, as of today, a person of interest has been identified, and it's through technology. It's not physical. So that's fresh perspective I will be bringing.
Well, that's definitely a fresh perspective that I think will be very well received. But what about the areas of education, healthcare, and welfare sectors? These are very hard hit. So how do you plan to tackle these areas?
In terms of education, education is so vital because any developed society, if you look at developed societies, the trend is that the educational progress, as education rises, the progression in their development rises. I will emphasize a lot on education, rebuilding the infrastructure of education and making sure teachers are paid so that they have been incentivized to teach our students. In terms of medical, that's so dear to me because every diasporan, they are scared that when they come to Nigeria, they fall sick and there is no medical intervention. That is very primary to me. I will build 2 hospitals in Abia, one in Aba and one in Umuahia. That hospital, I will enter into PPP, public-private partnership with the best in class of hospitals abroad, say America, and bring them so that all the medical processes, all the best things they do to make them world-class medical hospitals will be in Abia. At least we found in 2 places, so that if there is any medical emergency, at least there will be intervention It may be costly, but it will be better than going to China or going to India. You will be taken care of. And that's the approach I will use. The current medical practices, federal and state, will still sustain them, but these ones will be new with different mentality, with different set of people. So that if you call a doctor, if you come there, nobody will say, oh, doctor is not here. It will never happen. Nobody will say there is no medicine. Nobody will say, oh, we run out of oxygen. No, everything will be there. It may be expensive, but it will be there. You'll be saved. Your life will be saved. You can't die from diabetes that is not controlled. It's just terrible. So.
Well, from what you've said so far, it's very obvious that you're not the typical Nigerian politician. So I'd like to know what informed your decision, to get involved in politics in Abia State, and also what makes you different from other aspirants that are also vying for the same office.
And I've been apolitical, even though I've been around politicians. I've been apolitical, but when you continue to see what is going on and how people are suffering and how things are going badly in our state, you can't help but being political. When I look at the lack of accountability of our resources, the decadence, infrastructural decadence, and all the corruptions, and what particularly inspired me or nailed it for me was when I took my son Uche represented Nigeria in Olympics and gymnastics. You can remember him. And he won the African Championship in Morocco for gold for Nigeria. I took him to Abuja and we were meeting with some people and they asked me, where are you all from? I said, Abia. And the guy said, Abia. I said, wait a minute. Why Abia? He said, well, I'm sorry to say this, I went to the elementary school to give them a pep talk. And the teacher said, boys and girls, I want to ask you 3 questions. And the teacher said, which state has the worst roads in Nigeria? Yikes. And they said, Abia. And the teacher said, which state the government pockets all the money and don't pay teachers and pensioners and lead them to wallow in hunger? They said, Abia. Wow. He said, which state is the most corrupt state in Nigeria? And the student said, Abia. And he said, you see, I'm sorry. Man, it was a dagger to my chest. And I told him, I will get involved to change the negative narratives. And that was the thing that nailed it for me.
And, we sit here and we laugh about these things, but it's really serious. I mean, it's very uncomfortable for individuals who are in this position. And it seems like you're going to have your work cut out for you if you do assume the position of governor. What plans do you have for Abia State to better itself and not leave a bad reputation? I've talked about health and education. We have infrastructural, I would say, degradation. And the main reason for that is really lack of planning. You just don't build roads without thinking about drainage. So we do it right. We think about drainage. Where will water go before you build road? And when we build road, we build it to be sustainable, to last 30, 40 years, like we do in other countries. Why do we have to build road? Tomorrow it breaks down. What kind of thing is that? It's just a waste of money. So we do it right, do it very right. And we look at the environment. Abia stinks. I'm sorry. So we will commercialize that stench. It will become a business. So that if somebody see you drinking pure water, sachet water, and you want to throw it, they will take it away from you because it's money that you're throwing away. So we recycle those things and make it profitable, commercialize it. And indirectly, we are helping clean the environment without enforcing anything or doing anything to anybody. And there are just so many host of things that we plan to do in terms of youth empowerment. And the youth, teaming youth, we look at
what is it that we can do? I look at India, how they outsourced the knowledge, used the knowledge industry and outsourced it. So we will bring technology and use skill acquisition, to retrain people so that we can outsource those things so that they can actually work for companies abroad, resident here, they're here, and they can do those things. So we can retrain our teaming youth.
Mr. Danike, it's been a very interesting conversation with you, and we wish you all the very best in this your journey to the State House in Abia State. We wish you every success. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Day.
Thank you.